Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Santee Educational Complex and the UN debates on national water rights. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to view this debate. This is the first debate to be held at Santee, and it is part of the global debates being sponsored by the peoplespeak.org.
The great Mark Twain once wrote, "Whiskey's for drinking in the West, and water's what's fighting for. The human race is no stranger to violence, yet over water." Ronald Bailey in How Privatization Gets Water to the Poor asks, if the UN can't even stop such a conflict in the small impoverished nation such as Sudan, which has been enduring a conflict over water rights, how can a global commons be so presumptuous to think that they can regulate water of the entire world and get it to everyone? Nations are necessary entities for governing water resources. Up to 30% of freshwater supplies are lost due to leakages in developed countries. This great nation is having such a tiresome task of keeping its infrastructure up to par. How will a global commons do it, in addition to supply to everyone in the nation and the world? Sovereign means fully independent in determining its own affairs. But people who advocate a global commons believe that nations should not have sovereign right over water. On the contrary, nation states are necessary entities for governing water resources. Who else will decide how it is used?
Did you know 1.1 billion people worldwide do not have access to clean, natural, safe water? This is a major crisis because humans without water have little chance of survival and a greater chance of dying. Currently, nations with the right to their own water resources have not yet satisfied their citizens' water needs. The majority of the nations in the world tend to believe that they have a sovereign right to their water resources. However, nations themselves have not been able to manage water or distribute water properly among themselves, and as a result cause the death of some of their citizens. A global commons is non-profitable and efficient and would seem fair among citizens of different nations. If we are not currently in the time in which a global commons may work, when would it be accurate time for a global commons? When more people have died because of this mismanagement of water? It is a perfect time for a global commons to come into play if we want the world's water to be distributed equally, not only amongst our fellow citizens, but amongst everyone in the world. Because before we know it, it may be too late for even a global commons to come into commission.
How will an unestablished global commons accomplish the feat of allying all the nations together to agree on one topic?
Nations would be smart and contribute to a global commons, for they would not want problems with other nations over water, for the same reason that they themselves might have a water shortage.
There are many things that water is needed for. Water is needed for cleaning our cars and washing our clothes. And people need water to live. But what if there was no water? How would people live? National ownership of water has national-owned companies distributing water to those people in Africa at this time. And every year, for the past 2 years, there has been bottled water distributed to those people in Africa that need it. A global commons has not done any of this. None of those people that sponsor a global commons have done any work to help those people in Africa. The water that is distributed to other nations for free will not be free. Taxpayers will have to pay for that water. People have always exploited water to make money, but the money that is made from water can be invested to better fund national security. A global commons will leave our country in a situation of vulnerability to terrorists and anybody that wishes to harm our country. There have been times in the past when the government could not handle the situation as fast as it does now, and people could not water their crops, and because of that, the economy suffered. If we had a global commons, this will happen more often. The people of this nation need to have someone in charge that they can depend on to make decisions in a time of crisis. The United Nations will not be able to handle such a situation. Global commons will not be efficient. We need to do something about the people in Africa that don't have clean water to drink, but at the same time, we cannot risk our nation's well-being. There is a way to help people in other countries that need water, but a global commons is not the way.
My opponent's arguments are fallacious. He said how African regions such as Darfur has enduring a conflict over water rights. Also, my opponent has said individual nations cannot resolve this water crisis. He is absolutely correct. They cannot. So we must, as a global community, bring an end to this current crisis. My opponents argued about if a global commons was in charge, there would be no way of them producing enough money and manpower to ever attempt at repairing such systems. Yet we do have the finance, but yet, like I said before, nations are not willing to tax regarding to manpower. With democratic nations that are more about human rights contributing to a global commons, the manpower will be provided. Thank you.